night, everyone. We are right on time for the session. I'm Ronak Shah with Future Market Insights. A very warm welcome to all our speakers and audience joining us from different parts of the world. Just look at the number of attendees, and it seems like we are all very much excited to know how the power of AI is going to empower the packaging industry. And I'm really glad to announce that this roundtable has been organized in association with RDM Group and Utopia Plastics. For audience who are new to our webinar, let me just give you a quick backdrop of what Future Market Insights is. So we are actually an ISOMAR certified market research company. FMI has got the analytical game spot on with our repository of 15,000 plus research reports across 12 plus domains. And I could just, turn around my camera to show you all that the work that we are doing. All our analysts are working really hard over here. And in addition to being rich with data and intelligence, we have a client base that includes 80% of Forbes 1000 enterprises, and we have a renewal rate of 75%. Also, we enjoy a high client satisfaction score of 4.9 out of 5, as we emerge as clutch leader for business consulting. All of this, and we don't dwell on our past laurels and keep going on with the same diligence when it comes to, developing a research report. So we also have a comprehensive process when it comes to creating a research report, and we put in place a few questionnaires, then we get the respondents, then the data collection happens, the data validation happens, and ultimately we put out a well thoughtful research report for our clients to use it on a practical basis. FMI, if you must have known about it, it is generally known for its thought leadership campaigns, and we have done many such webinars in the past for food and packaging domain. And I'm really glad and pleased to announce that given our thought leadership in packaging and food and beverage domain, we have recently received the Asia Pacific Stevie Awards for our plant-based food revolution campaign. Audience, if you want, you can check out our previous webinars from our website under the event section. That being said, let's come back to the topic of the hour, AI in packaging. Now, when the word AI is used alongside any industry, the default perception of the mass is that the industry is up for a better transformation. But when it comes to me, I take AI with a pinch of salt. It may be a practical solution for the future, but not for the very near future. I personally believe that artificial intelligence is like a Disneyland for the packaging industry. It just seems too good to be true at the moment. I mean, there are stringent regulations around both AI as well as packaging. And definitely this marriage of AI and packaging requires a big fat investment. So we cannot rule even that out. Apart from that, when we are trying to reduce our carbon footprints by reusing plastic and going on to create circular economy, AI is brought into the picture. The operational natural resources are consumed at a massive scale. And I personally feel that it is like sewing at one end and getting torn at the other end. Also, it feels like taking one step forward and two steps backward with this approach. However, this is my personal opinion, and I'm really looking forward to know the thoughts of our speakers. Let me introduce to you Sharina Perry, the founder of Utopia Plastics. Hi, Sharina. Okay. Next up, we have Krzysztof Krajewski, the Chief Sustainability and Innovation Officer at RDM Group. Hi, Krzysztof.
Hello. Okay.
And of course, we have And of course, we have Ismail Sutaria, our Chief Packaging Analyst at Future Market Insights. Hi, Ismail. Okay. Before we begin this session, let me do a quick announcement about the ebook that we are going to launch. So it is going to be on the topic of AI in packaging, and it is going to talk exclusively about some key estimations and investment pockets that we are to look forward in the industry. Audience, you are going to get it issued by the end of the next week, along with the recording of the webinar and the deck presented by our speakers. Let me also put forward a few guidelines. Okay, so audience, you are going to be muted throughout the session. If you have any questions, do raise them into the chat box that is available on your console. I will try and cover as many questions as I can, but given the respect that we have for the time of our speakers and the time constraint, if we miss out on doing that, please do not worry. We are definitely going to come back to you. All right, then, the mood has been set. Let's hear what our speakers have to say. Ismail, I would like to start with you. I have been, looking up to you. You have been working with your team for the past decade to envision the future of the entire packaging industry. I see there are some uncertainties, and still, I have always seen you talk positive about sustainable packaging. Now that we talk about AI, tell me your views about AI in packaging. Are we talking about innovation or are we talking about disruption?
All right. Thank you, Ronak, for having me, first of all. Hello, Sharina, Krzysztof, and to the wonderful audience present today. Well, quickly coming back to your question, there is no doubt that sustainability is a baseline expectation today. And I am a very firm believer of the fact that AI will certainly act as a catalyst to achieve this goal. Well, beginning from my presentation, can we move on to the very first slide, Tandra? Yeah. All right. So, as you all are aware, increasing market demand for eco-friendly materials and plant-based packaging, be it circular economy and recyclability, these are some of the critical drivers, I would say, for the packaging industry to onboard AI. Where from my very first slide, I'm just trying to bring your attention to make you understand how huge AI is, and how AI involves integration and amalgamation of various processes, be it process automation, language processing, machine learning, visualization. The companies all over need to take steps to automate their packaging lines and be prepared to be future-proof, if at all they are looking to take advantage of AI. Be it having a connected supply chain, or generative AI helping in branding and marketing, machine learning contributing towards innovative packaging design, or data analytics helping to optimize pricing and provide accurate forecasts. AI is all here to take us forward. If we talk about computer vision or visualization techniques, AI at the end of the day will not only provide a better consumer experience, but it will also ensure packaging is consumed safely without any threats. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just want to make a statement over here. Do you realize, when robots were introduced? They were introduced way back in the 1950s or 60s era, and it has become a very standard and expected sight in the industry today. I personally believe that AI will be accepted how robotics is today by the end of maybe 3 to 4 decades, and will be a standard norm within the packaging and most of the associated industries. AI will be the new intent of packaging. Ladies and gentlemen, it's here to stay and soon become the new default in our industry. Well, quickly moving on to my next slide, over here, we have shared our piece of analysis and experts from our very own exclusive report of AI in packaging and the opportunity that artificial intelligence has within the packaging industry today. So on the left side of the slide, you can see what kind of opportunity it might bring up for tech giants, startups, and packaging stakeholders across the value chain. Here you can see the industry provides a dollar opportunity up to 10 billion in the next half of this decade, and it's huge. The market will be 3x of what it is today in the next half of the decade, in the next 5 years or so. The next picture is from the survey that we did over the last 1 year, and that suggests that only 19% of the packaging organizations have adopted AI technology in any of their functions as of today. While 60% of the stakeholders are either observers or they are experimenting and are trying to assess the benefits versus risks associated with this disruptive technology. You can see, how AI is going to be valuable at every node on the value chain. That's what I've tried to show on the very right. Whereas some of the leading and laggards of this industry are, I would say, F&B and consumer goods are the leading adopters, whereas retail, home care, and cosmetic companies are quickly there to follow. Last but not the least, it is very important to understand that everyone in the packaging industry is trying to work towards more sustainable packaging ecosystem, be it through circular economy, be it through more of plant-based materials. But at the end of the day, we need to realize that technology needs to be made utilized, and this can only act as a catalyst for everyone to achieve this goal. Well, moving on to my next slide. Here I have tried to represent, probably 9 business issues within the packaging and how AI has the potential, or it can act as a troubleshooter to resolve each of these. If you talk about user experience, it is about interaction and satisfaction. It's about usage, have proper tracking and tracing, have proper sensing and monitoring devices. And last but not the least, check how the industry is progressing towards sustainability. So I think AI is a one-step solution to better utilize this technology and to resolve these business issues in 3 areas to sum up with. One is user experience, second is package and product integrity, and last but not the least, it's all about managing your inventory and having a proper life cycle management process set up. Yeah. All right, so on my this slide, I have tried to show how the priorities of different countries across the globe are shifting and how each country needs to prioritize and probably think of what needs to be prioritized if they want to set up a good AI-based ecosystem. It would rather be interesting to see how different countries and regulatory bodies are witnessing these shifts to expedite the use of AI technology. To make it very simple, 2 entities that have a very crucial role to play. One, of course, is the government bodies, and second is the regulatory bodies. So these 2 need to have a strong check and see how the industry can probably progress with having AI as an advantage. For example, just a small example, for example, India and China need to expedite, maybe they are a cloud tech, followed by adopting new 5G and IIoT systems. Whereas if you see more in the developed cluster of the United States and Europe, maybe support of government investments, maybe startup benefits will have a bigger role to play. So this is a very interesting matrix I have tried to portray for everyone, for the audience, wherein it's not limited to these, but yeah, these will have an important role to play, be it public and private investments, be it bid to reduce labor cost, rapid advancement in cloud and smart manufacturing, investment in smart and connected packaging formats, and last but not the least, faster adoption of 5G and IIoT. Yes, moving on here, these are certain trends that would impact or probably define or reshape the future of AI. Here is another interesting slide where I was trying to assess what is the stage versus scale of commercialization of AI trends in packaging. So consumer brands today are trying to strike the right balance between technology, sustainability, and what consumers want. So let's take an example of AR and VR headsets, 3D printing prototypes. You don't see much of these commercialized, and probably even the scale of commercialization is pretty low as of today. But yes, something that is less might have bigger potential and opportunity. Let's take, for example, data analytics. Yes, you see a lot of data analytics that is happening, which involves the use of AI. So these are some of the trends that are going to shape the future of the industry, while brands, tech companies, packaging companies need to have the right balance between which technologies they want to adopt for their packaging considering the portfolio that they have today. So it would be interesting to see how brands and packaging stakeholders and companies are trying to make use of most of these trends that would be shaping the future of AI in packaging. Yeah. Well, till here, ladies and gentlemen, we have discussed the potential benefits and advantages of AI has, but leaders are still skeptical considering the potential risk this technology might bring today. And that's why we have seen in my previous slide, many organizations are within the observing and experimenting stage of AI based technology. Some of the challenges pretty much are very clear, and I'm sure everyone is aware of, be it the need of hardware and software updates. Again, second thing is, if you're talking about such a connected packaging format, I'm sure there will be a certain cost addition that will have to the entire product, including the packaging. And again, are the consumers willing to pay that extra penny? So I personally feel that unless and until the scale of adoption is not at a very mass level for this technology, bringing down the cost curve is going to be a challenge. And it's going to be interesting to see how everyone who is making use of this technology will mitigate this challenge in the coming years. Obviously, we have benefits of AI that we have already discussed, but yes, roadblocks for AI are certainly there. Something like having the need to access to multiple devices, and last but not the least, data theft and what data is controlled about how much consumer is using. So these are certain roadblocks that AI is carrying with itself. And if we move on, we have been doing survey with packaging stakeholders. Just the next slide, Chandra. Can we move on? Yeah. So this slide, you can see, we have been doing expert interviews with a lot of packaging organizations, with a lot of FMCG brands, and even consumers, because it's very much important to understand and gain some real-time insights from everyone in the value chain. So our survey suggests that 65% of the packaging organization plan to invest in AI solutions and believe AI acts as a catalyst to achieve sustainability. However, if you see what brands are reflecting or what consumers are reflecting, there are certain deterrents or challenges, be it high cost of technology, be it uncertainty for mass market, be it exposure to complex secular security vulnerabilities. And again, what about the recycling infrastructure? Do we have that set up there? So these are some of the challenges that need to be tackled. And if you see from the consumer's perspective, again, they have a perception that AI-based packaging will have a high cost associated with itself. So again, that is something which needs to be addressed. And whether it's going to be very user-friendly, particularly in the developing cluster of the globe, I don't think so. People are very much tech-friendly and they want to utilize technology and more of devices when they want an access to a certain packaging. So these are some challenges which needs to be taken care of as we move forward and utilize the power of AI. Well, moving on to my concluding slide. All right, I have kept it very simple. I think my recommendation would be winning in the AI packaging ecosystem will utilize, we need to bring all the participants together at the end of the day, be it the tech companies, be it the semiconductor companies, be it analytics firms, be it packaging companies or consumers. I think at the end of the day, if all are not on the same page, if we have no integration amongst the stakeholders, it will be rather difficult for us to witness the shift to use AI for packaging. So I will make it, I will give some very clear, simple steps of how this can be achieved. First of all, let us try and bridge the gap between the processes. One, let's take baby steps. It cannot happen, in a day or a month. Next is about process automation. I think we need to start with semi-automation and then try and shift gears towards more of AI-powered processes. So everyone needs to, ensure that their processes are going to be completely automatic. We are utilizing AI automated robots, and that's how you can start making most of this technology. Third is keeping an eye on the switching cost. As AI would require high investments to start with. Whenever we have a new technology, it's a very smarter option to make use of that, but definitely you need to keep an eye on the investment appetite that companies have today. For this, let's not forget our vision and the objective. For everyone in the packaging industry, everyone wants to, maybe bring more of sustainable materials, try and bring more of recyclability and reusability trend, try and understand how the cost can be down and not paid by the consumers. So everyone is, to a certain extent, is working towards these sustainable objects. So everyone needs to be very flexible and open-minded in order to achieve this. Last but not the least, yes, I would say collaboration is the key. It's all about having the right collaboration and probably shape the future and realize the power of AI. We need to focus on consumer awareness, work on cost reduction, and strategize integration among stakeholders. Let's do it together. Let's shape the future of this industry together. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you, Ismail. That was really well said. And I would say that if AI in packaging is growing at such a stunning rate, we know for sure that it's a practical concept, not at all nomadic at all. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's take the session to Sharina, the genius mind behind Utopia Plastic. Hi, Sharina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's really wonderful to have you over here. Thanks for joining us. Sharina, I'd like to take the liberty to use the millennial lingo with you. And I'd say I stalked you on LinkedIn. I got to see the amazing work that you do. And I would really want to know what Utopia Plastic is about, what you do with the model. Also, there's packaging and then there's technology. So how do you perceive the intersection between these completely different worlds? Over to you, Sharina.
That question, really, there's an expression that we don't accomplish a new thing if we're only stuck on doing the same thing. And if we are to take an approach and look at technology, we must look at technology as the all-encompassing umbrella and packaging falling underneath that. But ultimately, the change that we want to see has to take place by rethinking how we got here, rethinking about the change, rethinking innovation, and how we make an impact. Utopia Plastics, as you know, is centrally focused on sustainability. So when we take approach to what that looks like for our future and the models that we create and work with in supply chain, Ismail addressed many of them. We want to know, and companies want to know what the financial impact will be, what the change will be to the people within their organizations, their companies, their manufacturing. Collaboration is key, but we also must pay attention to our environmental impacts. And that's why through this discussion today, I really want to address the business of how we think about our natural resources and how we develop new and emerging technologies, and approaching sustainability through a broader lens of intentionally making responsibly conscious decisions to use technology that positively impact our environment, society, and economy collectively. If ever we remove our intentional efforts to look at the impact rather than, and that means broader than just the reduction of materials, it's a lot bigger picture. Next slide, please. Essentially, around the world, when we talk about sustainability, and that's our core focus, and that's our core focus of how we take the approach to AI. And we know that as we've developed our own supply chain for meeting our needs, there are other technologies that are valuable in that supply chain. We remain essentially focused on, do we positively impact people? Do we positively impact the planet? And do we positively impact our economy, or make it where what we are developing includes profits? Next slide, please. Essentially, what we've always had to today, or to where we are now in this stream of time, is a cradle to grave approach. We've taken our natural resources, we've made a product, and we've disposed of them. Yes, it is correct. AI has been around for some time, even in us being in a linear economy. So as we approach AI, we must ask how it is utilized in a cradle-to-cradle approach, where we take and make a product, we use it, we recycle it, we reuse it again, or that when that product breaks down, that it does not add any harmful impact to our environment. Next slide. Essentially, the core focus of AI when we're talking about packaging has been in the manufacturing. So now we must rethink AI usage from manufacturing to consumption to waste and to the resources and how it may impact those core areas if we are to discuss circular economy. Next slide, please. Machine learning is the most applied AI technology within the packaging sector today. Machine learning can be used throughout the packaging value chain to help companies with predictive maintenance and to improve their cybersecurity. One of the key things we hear is the replacement that has drawn consumers away and many organizations, and the growing concern is whether AI will be used to replace human jobs, remove us from work. It is in my opinion that if we take that approach, we have missed the mark again on sustainability. We must learn how to incorporate technology while not removing by not adversely impacting human life and jobs, our environment, and our economy. Next slide, please. In our organization, one of the ways is we essentially, Utopia Plastics, is a plant-based alternative to fossil fuel polymers. We do not use a chemical process in creating our polymers. So it's important for us for soil health. The crops we use absorb carbon at 4 to 5 times the rate of trees, remove heavy metals from the soil. But the key also is we don't use any pesticides or fertilizers. So when we're able to monitor soil health, we're able to use companies like, and this is a technology that is developing. American Pride Sustainable Solutions helps generate relevant data insights, monitor, reporting, forecasting, data-driven decision-making support, all in conjunction with some of the key things that impact soil health when growing. So if we're creating packaging that starts with green technology, are we paying attention to what happens with the feedstock? That's going to be important in AI. Next slide, please. From there, another company, Materia, is uniquely trained AI platform to accelerate accurate decision-making processes for better and faster product development by leveraging smart data infrastructure and advanced machine learning tools. The AI Materials technology integrates the technical materials and processing data within established scientific knowledge and provides actionable insights and solutions for more efficient development, optimization, and manufacturing. So when we're looking at the processing side of manufacturing, are we looking at it for efficiency? Or are we looking at it for alternative reasons? If we keep our focus on efficiency, we will see the benefit of AI technology. But there must be a metrics in place for measuring that. Next slide, please. So according to Tech Explorist, while we look at AI technology, we must, as Ismail also said, think about the harmful impacts. AI technology programs also consume a lot of water. The cloud data processing centers face high water costs due to power and cooling. When we're in a climate crisis, or if we're moving to green technology, a key focus of ours is water conservation, especially in areas that experience extreme drought. So we might look at it from our local region and say, hey, you know, I'm in the US, I'm in the central part of the country, we really don't have that issue. But in other regions across the world, they do deal with that. And so if we're going to deploy technology, we must be mindful. So it's essential to detect and address the AI's model hidden water footprint in light of the growing freshwater scarcity situation, increasingly extended droughts, and rapidly aging public water infrastructure. I feel like that's also an issue when we have these initiatives and directives, even as we approach circularity. Are we looking at infrastructure in a way that if we are making these claims, if we're talking about and encouraging consumers to remove to circularity, recycling, are we also educating consumers on what it takes to build out those infrastructures in packaging? Ismail shared the economics associated with the packaging industry and what could potentially be the impact. I feel as though those numbers can be even greater if we intentionally take our focus to be holistic. Next slide, please. For us, it required intentionally paying attention to how we built out our supply chain, from processing, farming to processing to manufacturing and distribution. We needed to make sure every input had a positive output, and that whatever we were doing as we built through a collaboration, as we built through our technology, that we were making a positive impact centered around sustainability. And that development is what created our Utopia model. Next slide, please. And that Utopia model came with a seal of the quality and the standard that exists in what we do. So the biggest question about any technology or any development, are we delivering more than a product? Because if we're delivering less than a true solution, we are not being true to the very missions that we claim. Our claim is, our corporate mission is to provide eco solutions, to support social initiatives, to bolster farming and economic growth, to empower end users to be respectful of our planet, but also to feature the seal knowing that you have a gold standard. We have to change the narrative, and we've proven it. Next slide, please. From farming, from processing and manufacturing, to pelletizing, to the end product. From seed to sale, artificial intelligence actually has the ability to positively impact crop management, process and manufacturing improvement, product design and development, logistics, consumer awareness, and education. And when we intentionally are managing all areas of the supply chain, this will result in delivering the desired outcomes and truly sustainable solutions. But it comes and requires a metrics within what we are doing. If we say we have a green product, what KPIs are we making sure we're capturing in the manufacturing? If we are doing it the right way, we will be able to use artificial intelligence and programs data tracking for our carbon offsets, our energy usage, our air quality, as well as our waste management. To us, that's the bigger picture. And in the long run, the consumers, all the stakeholders, legislators, as well, can be proud of the work we have done together to accomplish it. But in order to do it, we must believe that we are better together. We also must believe that whenever we develop a technology, we must look at it beyond just a product and really the future impact for millennials and Gen Z that come after us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharina. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. You not only, brought out the keynotes that AI can strike, but also pointed out the challenges that remain for all of us to address. Thanks for this. Moving on, we have Krzysztof from RDM Group. Hi, Krzysztof.
Good afternoon. I'm currently speaking from Italy. That's my time zone. I'm right now. So nice to be here. Thank you for invitation. And I believe this is a fascinating topic, clearly on the rise. And there are so many opportunities, too many opportunities to have a decision on which and where we should start by when we think about implementing AI. So my presentation will not be full of technical details and and many slides. I just would like to discuss with you basically how to start an effective AI and how to find the models and the business models where AI would strive with the best results. And clearly, as mentioned before by Ismail and Sharina, it's all about making small steps. And in this vast amount of information when it comes to recycling and circularity, you will have plenty of opportunities. But the challenge will be, how to make this very first step. So, my name is Krzysztof Krajewski, Chief Sustainability Innovation Officer at RDM Group. If you are not very familiar with the group, we are leading a producer of recycled cardboard. So we're operating in the circular economy when it's all about driving the right behaviors and turning to make sure that the circularity loop will be closed as we saw on Sharina's presentation, without a waste. So basically, we always think about material as a valuable material for recycling, and we don't see this as a waste. If we go on with the presentation, so the AI always, whenever you approach with any discussion about AI, I think it starts with the definition of the problem. And I think with recycling and circular economy and sustainability as a whole, this is very clear. We have a problem, right? There's no doubt. Recycling rates are too low. The fragmentation of the infrastructure is very high. There's no common regulation and hundreds of guidelines for recycling. Of course, there are some legislation proposals and regulations which are upcoming, like for example PPWR in Europe, which is supposed to bring all those guidelines to the common denominator, setting up the same ground rules for every country, for every member state, to have the same set of rules. Because I think when you ask me what is the main enabler for AI to start, is basically to have the same language and they have the same set of standards and be have a very defined role in this integrity of one common system. Because if you have the vast amount of data, the large amount of data, this data needs to be coordinated in the same set of rules. So and yet we want to innovate. We want to differentiate our product on shelf with with marketing and brand needs. I mentioned about recycling guidelines. So everybody is developing their own guidelines. Should it be Walmart for their product development guidelines for the sustainability, for recyclability, or Tesco in UK, or Recyclas in Europe, which defines predominantly the recycling of plastics and other materials, and their algorithms to define the scale of recyclability of products. Fairly simple algorithms, but in fact, the reality is much, much more complicated. Therefore, I see personally the big opportunity for AI here, since simple models, they are not delivering. So you may send your packaging and design of a product to a certification body, and you get a certificate at the end of the day, whether this is recyclable or not. But you always need to certificate and test in the real life. Typical question is, please send me some, 200, 300 samples or 5 tons of your waste you generate. And then we test it. We will see how it's being sorted. We will see what is the percentage of effective recyclability rates. So there's no really method that can predict and can help in the process of design as an input and as the output, what is the efficiency of recycling rates. And here I see again a big potential for AI. The collection systems, the municipality, again, from municipality to municipality, there are different rules of disposing the waste. Consumers are and the residents are super confused whether this is recyclable or not. You may have an app or web-based platform which can help you immediately to make a decisions. Now, what should I do with this packaging? How should I dispose it? Where is my nearest collection point? How it will be recycled at the end of the day, right? Whether my packaging is contaminated and I should not be sending it for recycling. And I think one of the constraints and on the problematic areas is that the consumers are still not engaged as they should be engaged. They basically prefer sustainable products over the less sustainable products, but they don't want to pay more, and they don't want this to be their job. It's the job of the supply chain. It's the job of the producer to make sure that your packaging is recyclable. Doesn't matter what I do, you know what I mean? So, and the reality is that we have all this conflicting communications, and the waste streams are mixed, and still we have a lot of manual operations. Starting with the design, we need to consult whether we have the latest guidelines for recycling when we design our products, and then when we certificate and recertificate, we always do individual trials based on the real life experiments. And then reprocessing. Reprocessing is when we get the feedstock from the collection and waste sorting, and that's prepared for recycling. So how efficiently this feedstock will be reprocessed? What will be the losses? What will be the rejects when it comes to papers from the paper pulper, for example? What is the quality of the collected papers and the mix of papers in the collected amount of a waste. So when I started, as a packaging engineer, when I started visiting the waste management companies, I was struck by seeing how much it's human dependent. When you look on the, for example, plastics recycling, when you collect the waste from different countries, the quality of the waste streams is very different from country to country. It's very seasonal. So consumers consume different products, different type of products throughout the year. In the summertime, it could be more ice creams and soft drinks and so on. That's different plastic from the plastics we may consume in wintertime. And they have these sort of master blenders which blend different plastics with different siloses to make sure that the output material will be, let's say, less variable. That's what recycling is all about, to reduce the variability and make sure that the recycled product will be constant, driven with the safe margins, for not being contaminated and so on. So again, high variability and high dependency on human senses, and that's again for me a green light that here AI would have a role. We go to the next slide. So when you think about deep learning and the machine learning, and here again, many opportunities. I mentioned different regulations, the guidelines, the brand, the needs. This is the first layer. Like when you start with the concept, building the concept for the packaging and designing and creating new products. Having in mind recyclability of it and use of recycled content. That's very important to close to look for circularity. Then we don't always think about recyclable packaging, but also using recycled content. Very important for us because in RDM Group we focused on maximizing recycled content, producing the boards from recycled fibers. And then the next level, and every layer will have its own network. So controlling the flow of all the steps, all the networks combined, it's crucial because we don't want to downcycle. We want ideally upcycle products. We want to keep the value very high. We want to create small closed loops, like for example, having recycled plastics for food applications. You don't want to this plastic being spoiled with the plastic coming from the packaging, which was used for chemical products, biocides. All the ingredients we don't want in the contamination for the food products. So this decision-making process would be great and excellent field for a system that will learn how to identify and choose the right path throughout the whole sorting process. On the next slide, I will be focusing a little bit more on our realm, which is the recycling of papers. So basically, we have a different feedstocks. We have a mix of different papers coming from different streams and different sources, like corrugated kraft papers, like virgin fibers, which are coming for the very first time into the circularity. We know that in the circularity and recycling, you cannot recycle forever. So you always will have a clean feedstock of virgin materials. Should it be bio-based, ideally renewables? You will always have a portion of virgin input. But then you have high-grade papers, newspapers, drink packs. Drink packs could be contaminated with coated materials like plastic layers, with aluminum layers, or drink packs will be quite composite packaging, which is very difficult for recycling. So it looks like paper, but it's really not clean paper. And what kind of paper, what kind of fibers and quality of the fibers, and what was the contamination of the product in which this packaging was in contact throughout this first phase of life, of our previous life. And then there are so many hidden layers which are not under control yet. And that's why we need to expose them and learn and build them into the system. And as an output for us, yeah, we have many outputs which could be improved, and benefits will be very, very clear. The quality of recycled materials will be improved with the higher grades and materials, for higher demanding applications, like food applications, for example. With recycled materials, it's not very easy. We of course are using energy, so that's carbon intensive process. We are using steam, we are using water. Sharina mentioned about the steam losses and so on, and that's our life. And we're dealing with the water consumption and the water discharges, so the quality of water after repulping, from the sludges, and this water can be pretty mean quite often. So we need to treat it properly and we need to control it properly. and our waste, our own waste. So can we valorize our own waste, rejects from the pulpers? If it's very poor quality, it will just be deemed for landfills or incineration at best. But if we improve our processes within AI, we can produce much cleaner and much more valuable waste, which will not be waste anymore because we want to recycle it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is basically it. In the next slide, which is my final slide, there's one more. So this is the example path where we would like to keep our control of the circularity. So this is the way how I see circularity is a network, but it's a network which is like shaped in a circular way. So it's not just a step, it's a single path throughout the circularity. You have many paths and many circles. You want your product to go through a certain path, and certain paths will not be acceptable. I've mentioned already the level of contamination may be not too good. I mean, what is recycling? Is making park benches out of plastic recycling an ideal recycling path for your plastic bottle? Not necessarily. Yeah.
Okay.
And the next slide, and I think we're running out of time and allowing us for some Q&A session. It's just, I just pictured a couple of potential fields of application. The odor, something which is very difficult to control in an automatic way. A big opportunity for AI. Automation sorting already mentioned as visual recognition of, in the sorting processes to have a robotized processes. The safety risks and contamination, regulatory, a very big opportunity because it will be driven by regulations. Obviously, big investments will need to be in place over there because there's no doubt safety first, and those investments will need to be in place. And I will finish with what we already said a couple of times today. Collaboration is a must. To create common systems and to build consortiums, to join things like driven by PNG, Holy Grail initiatives, which is the visual recognition of the very hard to recycle, hard to sort materials. So joining those activities, those joint movements is very important, and learn from each other. And that will be my last comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Krzysztof. Thank you so much for the insights that really helped us understand what is the potential of AI and how we should approach that in packaging industry. All right, it's time for the Q&A session. We have got some questions. I'll take this one for Ismail. Ismail, developed countries versus developing countries, where does the investment bucket lie for stakeholders who are vying to grow in this redefined packaging industry?
I think this is an interesting question. After I heard the presentation from Sharina and Krzysztof, I can say two things are very important. One is recycling infrastructure preparedness, and second thing is consumers' acceptance and awareness about sustainability and more use of plant-based and recycled materials. So I think if I talk particularly about these two trends, the developed cluster probably has the first mover advantage. However, I would say the developing markets are quickly adopting these trends and are leaping and accepting this challenge at a good rate. So overall, if I say the developed markets might have a larger chunk of the opportunity today, but the developing markets have it all that it takes to utilize or capitalize on this latent opportunity that AI presents in the industry today. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ismail. Audience, I hope that answers your question. We have our next question. This one is for Krzysztof. Krzysztof, how should an organization that is just starting off to realize the potential benefits of circular economy approach AI?
Well, I think first of all, it would be about listing your main pain points and which problem you would like to solve first, or which problems we will need to solve first because of the changing regulations landscape. And clearly, one of every industry, every company will have their own problems, right? Like for example, for us, one of the difficult ones and very important, crucial, is the safety and aspect of using recycled materials, right? So here, let's say the quality of sorting and cleanliness and keeping the contamination level really low, it's probably very high on the list of our problems, right? So defining the problem is the number one. Secondly, do we have the data? Do we have the mass data for the machine learning, systems to learn from and to make decisions? That's very important step. How to collect this data, how to create the infrastructure for collections of measurements and the data is the second step. And it's always reach out to the experts from other industries, because those models, they have very simple DNA, right? And the application from very distant field may help you with solving your own problem.
Okay, I think that was a really interesting take. AI in packaging should be approached like a marathon, not a race. Thanks, Krzysztof, for the clarification. Next up, we have a question for Sharina. Sharina, what core processes, according to you, can be revolutionized by AI in the packaging industry?
I believe that it really, and Krzysztof spoke on it, we spoke on it a little bit earlier. When you examine your entire process from your feedstock to your end product produced for the consumer, there are ways to improve your process. For us, for instance, in grow operations, if we centrally focused on, do we have restorative properties or regenerative properties in the materials that we use? Are we focused on soil health? Are we focused on our water consumption? Today, innovation and technology for the number of companies globally, from small companies that have taken this challenge and addressed that, those companies exist. There are definitely in the processing and manufacturing where we didn't reinvent the process for manufacturing, how we use our crops to turn them into pelletized resin. But it did require a reformulation of how when we take in our feedstock, to we process it to our output, what does that look like for making sure the people that are hired to do that are more efficient in doing that, as well as now you get to the end consumer, or you're actually making up, let's go back to the manufacturing. Since we don't make end products and we make the pelletized resins for manufacturers, the manufacturer then has a lot of needs that they are sharing. They have their client requests. They have also, what does it look like using green products in our manufacturing process? For us, we've seen such great results from the manufacturing that they can now really measure their outcomes. They can measure how much, by the information we give them from our feedstock, they now can measure how much carbon reduction for use of the material. Because they use less energy when using our materials, that's a real measurable item now that can be calculated. Also, because there are no chemical smells when using our resin, that air quality, health outcomes are impacted as well when using that. Waste, when you have recyclable material, as well as reusable material. Our materials can be recycled. So even a manufacturer in the process of using the materials can reinsert that into the stream. Those are real measurable outcomes. And then you go to where it ends up and lands at the end consumer. So they can provide those measurable outcomes to their clients as a manufacturer, which help, in effect, help their clients reach their sustainable initiatives. So then there, how do you educate their consumer on what you have done in that process? We intentionally chose to take the direction, even as we shared from our website and what we do, to not have it as a selling website, but more as a teaching and an education about our why, what, and how. So that when Krzysztof brought up a lot about this consumer education. I was in California not long ago, and I saw these bins. You see the bins in the restaurant where they're using the packaging. And all I could think about is who's educating the consumer about where to put what, right? And so then what does the sorting look like when that's done wrong? I think while we have these initiatives, we have not intentionally done things to make focus. So then how do we reimagine that packaging so that there is no guesswork for the consumer? We can't place the responsibility on the consumer when the consumer has not been fully educated as to how to handle it, and they're the end user. But on the reverse, the consumer side is, do we research the companies that we spend money with, their initiatives, their focus on sustainability, and are we choosing to spend our dollars there? I believe it is a collective effort. We can't view it as big business corporations' only responsibility, because ultimately we're the ones that buy their products. But also the corporations that make the products are responsible for also educating the consumer. And I believe that that is kind of how that works together. So for us, through our entire value chain, we see the importance of how we can improve process, how we can incorporate emerging and new technologies, but to also be intentional about not creating more issues at the same time.
Great. That is a new way to look at AI in packaging. Thanks for this one, Sharina. At this note, let's conclude our roundtable. I'd like to present my key takeaways from the session. So first of all, I'd say my very pessimistic bubble about AI in packaging has burst to a certain extent. AI is clearly a priority in the packaging industry, although the mass scale adoption may still be a distant dream. But if technology and packaging players, like you all mentioned, if they work together, a sustainable future of packaging may arrive sooner than expected. On this note, I'd like to thank everyone for your time. Sharina, Krzysztof, Ismail. Audience, you will soon receive the recording of the webinar, the PPTs, and our latest ebook. Have a great day and evening, everyone. Signing off. Thank you.